Hello readers, I'm Amy and I am here to talk with you today about Judy Blume's Deenie. Deenie is about a girl with scoliosis. It is a middle grade. The main character is in 7th grade, which is about the time that I started having issues with scoliosis. So I'm really excited to talk about this book. I think it's going to be really important to me. I think I'm going to have a lot of things to say. There will be spoilers in this video because for this reading vlog, I am talking you through it as I go chapter by chapter. So I've read the first 5 pages and it's pretty interesting so far. Deanie's mom labels her sister Helen as the brains and Deenie herself as the beauty, which is not a great way to raise your kids or to label your kids. So she is determined that Deenie is going to be a model pretty much no matter what, and ends up blaming Deenie for not acing one of her model interviews because the person comments on her posture, which we already know where that's headed. Her posture is going to have to do with scoliosis since that's what the book's about. Yeah, she also tries out for the cheerleading team, which doesn't get a spot on the team, partially because of her posture. She has a teacher who calls her into her office, says, "Will you please bend over and try and touch your toes?" Takes a look at her and then says, "Hey, can you walk across the room for me?" She's gonna contact her parents to talk about it. Deenie also feels really weird whenever these special kids go by. So you have this character named Gina. She was in a car crash some years ago. Her legs aren't working anymore, so she's in a wheelchair. She's blind in one eye, and simply by being present, she makes Deenie uncomfortable. And this is kind of relatable to everybody, because whenever you see people around you who are having trouble physically or mentally, it can give some people weird feelings. I don't know where that stems from necessarily. I guess you could say, like, what if that was me? I don't want that to be me. Maybe it's contagious. There's a girl in Deanie's class who has eczema, and Deenie has to have her as a dancing partner in one of her gym classes, and she doesn't want to touch her because there's just this rash all over her body, and the girl's like, "It's not contagious, you're not going to catch anything by holding my hand," but Deenie still feels weird about it, and we know that's going to come into play later whenever her scoliosis really starts to come forward, because then she's probably going to turn into one of those kids. I was really lucky growing up. I had a class of like 96 kids, small town. I never understood the popular mean girl trope in movies because I didn't deal with that. Whenever I was dealing with my scoliosis, the kids at my school were really nice to me, and I didn't feel like I was being avoided by anyone. So that was nice. That's not an experience I think most people can relate to. But anyways, I am really enjoying this so far. A note on posture. My shoulders are a little bit off. One's a little higher than the other. Before I had my surgeries, I think it was a couple of inches of difference, just like going around like this all the time. And it doesn't feel weird or anything. It looks weird, but it doesn't feel any different to me. I couldn't tell that I was hunching one shoulder. It's not like I was keeping up on purpose. That's just what my spine was doing. The number of times people have commented on my posture over the years is infuriating, honestly. Like, my posture could be better. I do slouch a little bit. I've always slouched a little bit. There are more important things than posture, especially with the way her mom talks about it. Like, posture's what's really important. And sometimes there are things that you can't do about that. So Deanie's just been to the doctor. She went in on her own for the checkup, and then her mom went in after her, and now Deanie's asking questions like, what did the doctor say? And mom's not talking. My mom, growing up, and right now, is a nurse, and I really benefited from that a lot. She never hid any of my health issues from me. If the doctor said something, we had a discussion about it. The way the mom is acting in this is just infuriating. Like, you need to talk to your kid about stuff that's going wrong or stuff that the doctor said. And all this focus she puts on Deenie's looks is not setting up her kid for success, because we know with scoliosis, you're going to have some issues with how you look. And to rely that much on your looks, or to be told all the time how important your looks are, and then to have something like this happen, that's going to be jarring. That's going to hurt. And I have some feelings. But her posture was noticed through interviews and through cheerleading tryouts and by a teacher. For me, it was abdominal pains. I have a lot of health issues. One of them is ulcerative colitis, which affects my digestive system in a lot of ways. And when I was 9, I started having stomach pains, and I didn't get diagnosed until I was 14. The doctors were always blaming my parents. They were blaming the water that I was drinking. They were blaming my diet. And until I went to see a specialist, a gastroenterologist, for the abdominal pain, no one cared enough to really look into it. So one day my dad takes me to the doctor, and because I had really bad stomach pains, and by the time I got to the doctor, they'd stopped. And my dad said he got in trouble with the doctor because the guy's like, if she's not having stomach pains anymore, then don't bring her in. And eventually I ended up getting an x-ray. Again, this is where I get really upset about the whole thing, because they didn't care that I was in pain every single day. They didn't care that much that I was underweight. They said that I was anorexic, that I must be bulimic, that's why I wasn't gaining weight. But no, I could eat as much as anyone else and not gain any weight. Which, by the way, don't ever tell someone that you wish you could eat as much as you wanted without gaining weight, that you wish you could have what they have, because that sucks. And I've had several people say that to me, and that sucks, and don't do it. You do not want what I have. Anyways, continuing the story. In the x-ray, they just said that I must be constipated, because they didn't care how much pain I was in. What they cared about was the fact that my spine was taking on an S shape. So never mind the pain that I'm in, I have scoliosis, which won't really have too much of an effect on me for several years, whereas the pain is bothering me now. But we're going to worry about the spine, not about the pain that is crippling and interrupts your schoolwork. There's going to be a lot of ranting in this video. Glad Amadeus is here to make me feel a little better. Hopefully there will be no crying in this video, but whenever I think about this stuff, I get really frustrated, which is also why I need time to really just soak in this book, because I knew I was going to have thoughts on it, I was going to have stuff to say, and it was going to be important to me. See you in the next clip. Alright, Deenie just got finished up with her doctor's appointment, her initial doctor's appointment with an orthopedist who's sending her to a scoliosis specialist. And buddy, getting some kitty cuddles. On the way back from the appointment, her parents are arguing, and mom's trying to place blame on someone, because scoliosis is generally a genetic issue as far as I know. And mom's just like, well, Dad has a cousin who had issues, and Dad's like, that was a slipped disc, that has nothing to do with genetics. And they're just arguing about it, and Deenie's kind of invisible to them at this point. In my case, I was adopted, so we had like an idea of which part of the family it came from, but that wasn't something that really mattered. Like, my parents and I would talk about it, and they're like, well, it's probably from, I think it was a grandfather or something, but they weren't really focused on who to blame. They're focused on what do we do. And she's just been told that she has an option of, well, not necessarily an option, but you have 2 routes, and that's a brace or a surgery. Cat hair. They started me off with a brace, several braces, and I don't understand what the different kinds of braces are, but I'm not happy with the way my situation went, because I got fitted for this big plastic torso brace that had foam on the inside, and it had holes all around in the plastic. And those things do not come with air conditioning, and they're hot, and they're uncomfortable. And I started wearing my brace in the summer, and I was supposed to wear it all the time. And I wore it as little as I could possibly get away with, and sometimes even less, which was frustrating to my parents, understandably. But I hated it. It was thick, it was hard, I couldn't move comfortably, my skin couldn't breathe. I wore those ribbed tank tops, like the Hanes ribbed tank tops, and I would just have all of these lines running up and down my torso when I took the brace off because, it's putting pressure on you. Kind of like whenever you wake up in the morning and you have the bed sheets or the pillowcase lines just all over your face. Similar thing. And I was sweaty all the time and uncomfortable, and I had to wear it to school, which, like I said, kids at school were pretty nice about it. Ultimately, the brace did not end up really helping me. It was a combination of me never wearing it and probably just my actual genetics and my growth spurts and my spine just not wanting to cooperate. So, yeah. I don't think this book is going to talk much about surgical options, but I would like to know if there are some books out there that talk about scoliosis surgery with main characters. I'd definitely be interested in reading that and seeing how my experiences differed. When my scoliosis really started to get bad, it was mostly a lower curve. They corrected that with a half rod, and then my upper curve started to get really bad, and they had to take out the half rod and put in a full rod. So I can't really feel where my scar is. I'll insert pictures because I'm going to take some pictures for Instagram for this. Something else that I noticed that had to do with the curvature was the way my muscles changed. On my back, on the left-hand side, I've got this bunch. All of the muscle in my back somehow moved to the left-hand side, so it's really prominent. It really sticks out. It looks puffy. And then the right-hand side of my back caves in where there should be muscle. I'm not sure on the portrayal of the doctors themselves right now. Like, they're fine. They're doing their diagnosing stuff. I didn't really start to have issues until I'd had my surgery, and then I remember the day this doctor just walks into my room when I'm feeling kind of crappy, and like 10 interns walk in there with him, and he presents me as one of his scoliosis cases, and this patient is dealing with such and such a thing, and here's what we're doing for it. And I felt like just a photo in an anatomy book or in a medical text. Like, I wasn't a person to him at that moment, and that really sucked. And no one ever asked me if they could come in with some interns. They didn't talk to me like I was a person. They're just like, this patient has such and such a thing. And I did not exist as anything but some information on a paper. And I'm wondering what kind of people she's going to meet through this book, what kind of doctors she's going to deal with. My experiences weren't always the best with that. So, just finished lunch, and a couple more chapters in Deenie, and not feeling too great about it. The brace is interesting. She's just gotten her brace, and it's a little different from mine. It sounds similar in that it's got like the plaster work and stuff in the plastic, but hers actually comes up under her neck to keep her straight. I did not have a neck piece on any of my braces. My last one had a thigh piece, which was really poorly designed, because it kept coming loose. I don't even remember what the thigh piece was supposed to be for, but with the way I walked and the way I bent, it just kept like breaking off, and finally we left it off. Yeah, so her brace is different from mine. I think having a neck piece would definitely not be great. Like, not that the brace isn't obvious already, but she keeps describing feeling like she's in a cage, and that's very much what it feels like. You're just permanently restrained in this plastic piece. And right after this, she gets home and she starts having a panic attack. And she cuts off all her hair. It doesn't really give the reasoning behind that, but I imagine, like, she's uncomfortable, she's angry, she needs to do something. She goes in her room and slams the door and just starts cussing, like, every word that she knows after she tries to eat dinner because she can't bend over to the table, and she spills milk all over her plate, or herself, because she has to be perfectly straight when she's eating. And then she starts her period, which isn't something I had to deal with at that time. So like she is having trouble putting the pad in and everything because she cannot bend over. And her sister is being awesome. She has an older sister who's trying to help and trying to talk to her because she knows their mom isn't being super helpful. And she's like, if you need help putting in the pad, I will help you. And Deanie's like, no, because it's hard to be naked in front of people and to have people wipe for you and help you shower. Like, it's hard. So she doesn't have to shower with the brace on, of course, but whenever you have surgery, you can't shower alone. You can't really use the bathroom alone. You can't do anything. That wasn't as hard for me as I think it would be for others. Between being in dance and having ulcerative colitis and having scoliosis and having a nurse for a mom, I had way worse problems than being naked in front of people. But the period stuff is what really got me. Between having ulcerative colitis and scoliosis, you hear things about the period, how whenever your body is at a point where it's really unhealthy, it starts kind of shutting some things down so it can focus more on healing. I don't think it's just that I was a late bloomer because I didn't really have my period until I was late 16, until I was 17. And I think a lot of that was because of the illnesses that I was dealing with, where my body just couldn't deal with having a period on top of everything else. And besides that, I was underweight because of the ulcerative colitis, and that probably didn't help things. This kitten, man, just... Anyways, so it was kind of hard to see that, how she needs help really putting in a pad. Her sister's just like, I thought you were going to spend the whole night in the bathroom. And she's like, well, it's hard to put in a pad whenever you can't bend. And her sister's like, I would have helped you. And that's awesome. Her sister is definitely the most supportive person in this book so far. That's what my mom was for me. She would help me with anything that I needed help with. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with the period stuff at that time. But also I'm thinking this character's in 7th grade and she's having her period. And I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to have that rite of passage until I was about ready to graduate from high school. Because I was so unhealthy. And yeah. I just feel like this book is a really good time to share. And like I said, it's something that needs to be talked about more. I understand why people have a hard time talking about it, but the more we talk about it, the easier it gets, I'm going to take a little break and cuddle up with Chris, cuddle up with the cats, and then get back to reading. So I will talk to you guys later. Alright, so now we are in the clothes portion of this. So Deanie's mom and aunt took her shopping, and they're both like, you should try on this, and she's gonna be a model, and they're telling the sales lady that she's sick and she has scoliosis. If you have scoliosis, you're not sick. Your body's not fighting anything. You're not contagious. You're not dying. You just have a crooked spine that needs fixed. That's all. I don't remember really shopping for all that many other clothes. Like at the time I was kind of wearing t-shirts and jeans, so I had, like I said, I had the undershirts that I wore under my brace to kind of keep my skin more comfortable, and then I would just pop a sweater or a t-shirt on over the whole thing. Sometimes if it was summer, I would just like put on a tank top, put the brace on over it, and go. You don't always need to wear clothes over the brace, but generally you wear clothes over the brace to kind of cover it. I don't know, like I said, it depended kind of on the weather and the day. It did stretch out some of my clothes a little bit. There's no really hiding the brace. Um, if you're wearing giant clothes over it, like, people are gonna notice. It's a thing. But she's saying, like, I have my own style. I'm old enough to shop for myself. I'm not going to be a model with the scoliosis. And she doesn't want to be a model anyways. It's what her mom wants for her and what her aunt wants for her just because she's pretty. And again, growing up telling people that you need to rely on your looks for everything isn't very helpful in this situation. She's also got her first day of school coming up with the brace. And she's like, I'm not going to school tomorrow and I don't feel well. And her mom's giving into it like, oh, what if you have the flu? Oh, if you're not ready to go, don't go. And her dad's just like, nope, she's going. Nothing's changed. She's going to school. She's not getting out of this. It's just another day. She's fine. And I think that was really awesome. He's like, she's not going to get any better sitting around feeling sorry for herself. I don't remember having that much trouble getting back into school after having my brace. It was after my surgery, which I know my mom got kind of fed up with me because after so long of just laying on the couch every day, I remember one day she just gets up and it's like, all right, I'm going to set up the lawn chair outside and you're going to go sit on it and watch me do some gardening, because she wanted me out of the house, out in the sunshine, taking part in things. I did go to school before the doctor said I could, because the doctor's like, oh, you're going to be out of school for 6 to 8 months. And I'm like, no, I would rather graduate high school if you don't mind. And my parents are too busy for homeschooling. So for me, my plan was that I would go to school for like an hour or two, a different time every day of the week, so that I could go to a different class every day of the week and kind of catch up on work for that. And then my mom would come pick me up at the office, and sometimes I would lay down in the basement of the nursing home until she was done, or my dad would take me home or something. But I couldn't sit up and participate in school for more than 2 to 3 hours tops. My back would start to ache. I had to take a pillow with me to each of my classes. But everyone was really nice about it. The only real issues I had was that I was treated like I was made out of glass by everybody, which I feel like is kind of what her mom's treating her like in this. Like, she can't do anything for herself. In my situation, I mean, I just had surgery, so everyone's being really gentle with me. And at first it was fine, because I needed people to be gentle and I needed that extra help. But after a while, it was like, if I need help, then I'm going to tell you and I'm going to ask you for help. But stop treating me like I'm made out of glass, because I'm the one who knows my limits, not you. So that's the important thing. If someone's going through something like this, if someone's dealing with health issues, listen to them and what they say their limits are. Don't just assume that they're going to fall apart at any second. Alright, so now we're at Deenie's first gym class with the brace. The girl with the eczema shares, like, the row of lockers with her. I guess they're the only two on that side or something. I don't know. And she's still kind of freaked out by all the eczema that she has. And she has trouble putting on her shoes, or not putting on her shoes, but tying her shoes. And Barbara, the girl with the eczema, offers to tie them for her, and this whole time Deenie's thinking, wow, you're such a jerk. Which I kind of get that, because, like, you feel totally helpless if you have someone help you that much. But also, I think that was really nice of her. Even after all of these years, I still have trouble putting on shoes. I can tie my shoes and everything, but sometimes I'll get home and I'm just like, sweetie, grab my boot and just rip it off, because I'm too tired to bend over like that. I just, I can't roll my spine over. I can't bend my spine, and I'm not very flexible. So some shoes I just have a lot of trouble with, or I can't get tied on quite right. For years now, I've honestly been thinking of buying a shoehorn to help me get them on and off, and I haven't yet. I don't know why I'm procrastinating. But Yeah, I'm 26 and I've wanted to have a shoehorn since I was like 18. um, yeah, she's borrowing her sister's clothes right now because her sister's clothes are bigger, and that way she doesn't have to buy a whole bunch of new things. Some of the teachers are being really nice to her, some of them are not. The home ec teacher, which I didn't realize, but Deenie was written in 1973, so the girls are required to take a sewing class and a cooking class, which is a whole other topic to get into. But Deanie's sewing class teacher is this really old lady, and she gave her a 0 for the day because she didn't have her sewing patterns and stuff. And she's like, "What's your excuse?" And she's like, "Well, I was getting fitted for my brace this weekend and going through a lot." And she's like, "Do you think that's a valid excuse?" "I don't think that's a valid excuse. Here's a 0 on your project." Which, my grades were tough after my surgeries. I missed a lot of class. I went down to an F in a lot of my classes, but I got a 0 on something if it wasn't turned in, but as soon as I was able to finish that particular project, then I was graded as if I'd put it in on time. Because, it wasn't my fault that I wasn't at school and didn't have the energy to sit through class all the time, or the ability to sit through class all the time. So any 0s that I had were just until I was able to turn in the project. The only time I really had an issue was senior year of high school. We were graduating in 3 months. Like, they had the whole year to talk to me. I had 3 months until graduation, when one of the office ladies said that because I was missing a semester of gym, I wasn't going to be allowed to graduate until I made it up. And I'm like, well, I just had surgery last year, so I'm graduating. And they let me graduate, and it's like, for one thing, I had surgery, so you can't tell me that missing a gym class means I can't graduate. And for another thing, I had surgery and you had an entire year to come up with a way to help me make up the class. And instead, you're choosing to tell me 3 months before graduation that I can't graduate without a gym class. That's not how that works, people. If a kid isn't going to have a class, you could have told them the whole year before that. You don't get to tell them 3 months before graduation. So I graduated, I got my degree, I finished high school somehow. That was just like a really stupid thing, that happened. But right after my surgeries, I was actually able to take I don't even remember what it was called. It was a weight class, not like a traditional gym class with basketball and everything. I was able to weasel my way out of those for the rest of high school. Yes, I milked it a little bit to get out of gym. But the weight class was really awesome because I really got to test my strength. It was more intimate, so I could get together with a friend or two over on the bench, and one of them would hold the bar up above me and help me kind of lift it up. And I got up to 15 pounds on either side of that bar by the end of the semester, and I was really proud of myself. And my teacher was really awesome about the whole thing. And everyone just really helped me work with where I was at. So, anyhow, I'm just about finished with this book. I swear. This is a lot to say for such a tiny book, but as you can tell, it means a lot to me. And I knew that I would feel certain things in reading this book. So hopefully I only have like 1 or 2 more segments and can stop rambling quite so much. I'll see you guys in the next segment. Hello friends, Editing Amy here. The audio was lost for the last couple of segments that I filmed. No matter, I gave the book 5 stars. I just want to shout out to Reads with Rachel for being so encouraging in response to my January wrap-up. She said I should go ahead and just post this blog. I've been sitting on this blog for probably a month now with mixed feelings about posting it or not. Mostly because of the crying part and how weird it feels to do that on camera and to put that part of myself out there. But just thank you to everyone who's been so supportive and encouraging. And I hope that you all got something out of this. And also, I'm sorry it was so long. Believe me, I cut a lot out of it. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all around. Bye, friends.